Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Lazarus. I'm the creative director for Rokoko. Thank you for joining us for our first live stream. Sorry we're running a bit late. It wouldn't be, creating content if something didn't go wrong the first time. Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot more of these live streams, and the idea is that we just kind of want to connect with you guys in a more, real and transparent way. We want to show you all the cool stuff that we're going to be getting up to, how to use the suit, best practices, and then also just having fun and making cool stuff and hanging with the community and answering questions, whatever comes up during each one. So today, I'm going to be recording some data in the suit. I have Rokoko Studio open right now, as you can tell. I have the suit halfway on. There we go. I can wave using it. There you go. And so we're going to record a little bit of motion capture data. Then we're going to clean it up just a little bit. We're going to do something simple just to start, just to show you guys one of the flows. And then we're going to bring that data into Cinema 4D and make a fun little animation. As we do more of these things, we're going to be doing stuff in Maya and 3ds Max and Unreal and Unity and Houdini. The great thing about our data is that you can pull it into any program and get some fantastic results. And we want to show you guys kind of a well-rounded, how we can use the suit in lots of different ways. Without further ado, I think we'll just record some mocap data and we'll just get into it. So first things first, we are going to be recording or making a little animation, right? It always helps, I find, when recording motion capture data, to have an idea of what you're going to be doing before you get into it all. So today, I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to dance around a little bit, and then maybe we'll add some hair to our character in Cinema 4D. And so right there, I know that, this space is appropriate for what I'm doing. One great thing about the suit is that, everything is wireless. The head sensor right here, I can pull it out, and you can see the head kind of start to wobble there. This is one of the sensors that runs through the suit. They just have Velcro, so it makes it really easy. Another nice thing is, you can pull the sensors out of the suit anytime you need to clean it, or if you want to swap the sensors into like a larger suit or a smaller suit. We have different size suits. So the fact that these are all just Velcro makes it easy. This is one of the sensors. So these run throughout the suit. And we can just kind of get to it. Right, yeah, one of the great things about the suit is that it's wireless, and you can do it in a small little space. This is my office that we're in here, and I do a lot of motion capture stuff in here, it works great. And if I need more room, I'll have kind of thought about what I'm going to be doing ahead of time, and I'll move to another room and get set up there or something. So just as I'm starting, I always like to kind of run through what I'm going to be doing. So this time we're just doing a little dance and we're adding hair, so we don't need a ton of space. So first things first, we are just going to put the rest of the suit on. I've already put it on halfway. And I can stand up and show you guys. Here, I'll put on the arms first. So you can wear the suit over your clothing. I'm wearing it over my just pants that I was wearing. Let me turn the camera a little bit here. So you can wear it over clothing. I generally depends on, I will take my pants off and use the suit just in my skivvies. Sometimes I kind of like to have a little bit more freedom of motion. But you can use it over clothing. You can kind of use it however you want. The important thing is that the sensors are not slipping while you're moving. One of the important, things with our suit is that once we have the sensors in place, we want them to remain in the same place so that the data that we're getting is consistent. So the sensors are placed at each major part of your body, I guess. It's basically between joints, right? So the great thing about when we're recording motion capture data, if you take my arm here, we have one sensor for my forearm, right? That's because for my arm, we have a shoulder joint, we've got the elbow, and we've got the wrist. But my forearm, for instance, it's not going to bend, in the middle. It's not going to. There's not a joint there. So one sensor will cover, this section of my arm. One sensor will cover this section of my arm. I have a sensor for my hand. And so that's kind of the basic principle in terms of how we've placed the sensors throughout the suit. The other thing that I try and do after I put the suit on is I want the sensors to be kind of in the middle of each joint. And then, as I said, I don't want them to move. So I'm going to just tighten up the Velcro a little bit here. We'll zip up and look like a full ninja. There we go. Feeling cool. So for each of these little straps, I'm going to tighten this down just to make sure that I'm not going to get movement on my sensors. So tighten this. This guy, we want to be, again, as I said, ideally, each sensor is kind of in the middle of each joint, right? So for my forearm, I've tried to put it right in the middle of my forearm here. Same thing goes from my shin, my feet. I'm just going to tighten these up a little bit. Tighten this guy. Upper arm. Just make sure it's in the right spot. Tighten that up. Okay, everything's feeling pretty tight. In terms of I've got sensors for my hips here too, and these ride a little bit high so that you're not getting, motion that's throwing off the mocap data. So these are in the right spot. Let's tighten them up a little bit. Shoop. And then the last thing is the headband, or my head sensor, which goes in the back of your head, right there. Okay. So, get my hair looking good. So this is a suit. Easy. Threw it on. Took me 5 minutes, and I was already connected, but the suit will, once you set up your Wi-Fi settings, the suit will just pop up as soon as you turn it on and you open up Rokoko Studio. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set a straight pose, and that will give you your initial starting position for the suit. And we made it really easy, and the reason that we do this straight pose is that so the suit knows kind of where the parts of your body are. So if we go up to here, you can see a couple of buttons up here. Perform straight pose on all live characters, because you can have multiple suits working in a single session. And again, we'll get into all that. This one's fun, focus camera on the character, so the camera will track you as you move around. But again, first thing we always do is perform a straight pose. So if I click on this, we'll see the prompt come up here. Oh no, actually no, excuse me. The first thing that we're going to do is import our character. So if I click this little button down here, you can see that there's a couple, these are actor profiles essentially. So we can create a new one. I can show you what it's like. So if you hit this plus button, we will get a new character profile. Ooh, I'm going to be gray. I'll stick with gray. I'm going to name it Sam Live. Total height I'm in inches. I'm 5'6". Actually, I know I'm 170. Gosh, I'm doing math on the so I'm 5 times 12, and nobody's in the live stream yet. I'm just it's 66 inches. And so you can go in and do a lot more customization for each of your measurements. So if I had more time and kind of on my personal profile, I've gone through and measured all of the parts of my body so that our digital character can better reflect each person's body. So if you spend the time to set this up the first time, you have this character profile that will be there for the next time you open it up. So you only do it one time. Here I'm just going to put in my height. Normally that will work. That'll work well. But if you do have the time, it's worth it to go in and put in all these measurements properly. I'm going to save this body profile. And if we look at this here, unpaired inputs, this is my suit that's live right now, but it's not in a character. So if I just drag this up into the character, now we can perform a straight pose. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in, and I'll do my best to answer them. Oh, yes, we have a few questions. Sorry, let me pull this up here. Yes, you can. So, Andrew, howdy. If you're sweating in it, it's washable. You just remove the sensors. Hello from Boston, Kashif. You love that the suit has built-in Wi-Fi? Yeah, I do too. It's awesome. It's great. Okay. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comment section, and I'll keep an eye out for them. So again, first thing we're going to do, perform straight pose. So if I click this button, you'll see a little prompt come up. And I'll stand, and we'll do it again. So this is teaching the suit what where my body actually is. And the best way to perform a straight pose is you want your feet directly below your hips, and then you want to be kind of gently touching the sides of your legs. And again, this is so that the program will know where your body is and where your legs begin, and where your arm begins, and so that we can get as little mixing. And so this is actually already doing a pretty good job. You can see here it's actually accurately, I can touch the side of my leg and I'm not going through my leg or whatever it is. So I'll do it again. Boom, and we're ready. And as you can see, it configured everything properly, and now my character doesn't look insane. It looks like a normal person should be. And we're ready to go. So, I mean, it takes, 15 minutes to set all this stuff up. And that's one of the best things about the suit is that it's easy to set up. You can do it quickly. So if you just want to hop in and get something fast that's still going to be high quality, this all makes it really easy. So yeah, again, we're ready to go. I can just start recording. As you can see, it's tracking all of my movements very well. If we look down, it might be kind of small on your screens, but this area down here will show the frames per second that we're recording at. You always want this to be sitting at around 100. Which it should do on most Wi-Fi, and then it'll show you the health of each sensor on the body as well. And the goal is, you want these. Ideally, when you're setting, you should always do tests when you're doing motion capture. So before you record anything, it's always good to set up the suit and make sure you're getting healthy signals on all of your sensors, that it's recording everything properly. You don't want magnetic interference. Fortunately, our suit doesn't really have a lot of problems with that stuff. And if it does, it's always good to know it ahead of time and make sure that you're not, standing on a giant magnet or something. If you're out, in a parking lot or whatever, there might be interference. So it's always good to turn it on and do a test. But it looks like we're recording everything very well. So we can record our data and then bring it into Cinema 4D. So I think what I'm going to be doing is just kind of like doing a little dance, and then we'll add hair to that. And I'll also show you guys some simple cleanup tools that you can use in Studio. We have a couple things that make it easy just to make sure that your data is clean as it comes out of the program. So if I hit record here, we're recording. So all of this is being recorded. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to just do, hold on. Let me pause this and think this through a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna hop in, and then I'm just gonna do some kung fu. Actually, I think maybe some twist would be good with some hair. So maybe I'll do a little twist. I mean, part of the best part about all this stuff is that it's always super fun. Seeing yourself, on the screen, doing all this stuff. It kind of, I don't know, it's just fun to do as well. Okay, so we'll do a little twist. That'll be kind of the animation that we'll do. Okay, so I will walk up, and I will do the twist. And maybe I'll throw in a couple like 70s-ish dance moves. Yeah, and there we go. So let's take a look at what we recorded there. Okay. So boom, we have 2 takes from what we just did. And now you can see that it's still recording me. But if we double click on these takes over here, it will run it through a couple filters. And then we can take a look at our scene. If I middle mouse click, I can kind of move around a little bit. And actually, if I just click this button up here, focus camera on the characters, it'll just have the camera follow the characters. So, I mean, this already looks really good. Yeah. Yeah. So if we're, as we're, the things that we kind of want to look for as we start cleaning up this data is we want to make sure that we have good connection of the feet. And I'm looking at the feet right now and make sure they're connecting with the floor properly, which actually they look like they're doing very well right now. And then we want to make sure there's no drifting. And we kind of have tools that can help you clean up this data right in Studio. So if I go through this and I scrub through this, these little bars right here, locomotion. So there's a little L and a little R. The blue or the purple down here, this is my right foot. And what this is doing is it's saying every time there's one of these blue bars, my foot is connected to the floor. So it helps the program understand where the weight is of your body. And so that plays a lot into our algorithm and making sure all the motion looks natural and as it should. So right there you can see that my right foot comes off the ground. And here, we can just start cleaning this up. So as soon as my right foot touches back down, and I'm putting weight on it again, guys. There we go. So as soon as my foot comes down, I want, the program here, I'm helping it, I'm telling it, okay, I'm now putting weight on my foot, and it should help it out a little bit. Let me start that over again. I was kind of clicking around. Yeah. So we're getting a little bit of drift there, and we have tools to fix drift, and we'll be getting into that stuff a lot more as these live streams go on. Right now we're going to keep it pretty simple and just make sure there's no major problems. If we come down here, we have a few more options for cleanup as well. Toe bend is already on. You can as you can see there, it can tell when my toe should be bent and when I'm on the tippy toes on the ground. So that's already on. We have knee pop, smoothing, drift fix. So again, we'll be getting into this stuff more and more as we do more of these live streams. Today we're not really going to get into it. We're just going to, just make sure nothing looks off, and then we're just going to pull it into Cinema 4D and keep playing with it in there. So right now, yeah, I'm just gonna, this is my starting point. So if I pull my in here, and let's play with this actually. Let's see. Let's turn on some knee pop fixing. Boop. A little bit better, and we're not really going to mess with this stuff. We're going to keep it pretty simple for this one. But all these tools are here, and we're going to have links in the description below to go to all of our tutorials, and so you can check all this stuff out in more detail when you want. And again, we'll be getting into it more and more. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. It looks good. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, so the suit did a great job just on its first pass. So I'm going to leave it like this. And I'm going to add an out point here before I go back to my computer. And you can change the ins and outs by grabbing this little guy right here, scope end, and just bringing it to the playhead right there. So let's play through it one more time. Yeah, great. Looks good. Doing the twist. Looks fantastic. Recorded well. I am pleased with this. Let's bring it in to Cinema 4D, or let's export it. And I can show you that process. So when you're exporting data, and I can take my headband off, it's simple. Pretty much all you're going to do is you're going to come over here to the take and right click, and you'll find export. I actually like to do a little renaming first. So I'll call this Sam Twist and hit export. I usually leave all these as standard, just as default. Here's your export path, which for this Smart Studio, yeah, we'll just leave it there for now. And we're going to be exporting in FBX. You can see there's a couple different options for that. In binary, again, people are going to have a lot of different, depending on what you're doing, you might want to change these. These will be fine for us for Cinema 4D, so I'm just going to leave them as they are. And I'm going to hit export. And it's kind of running through its processing filters, but it's done. So I think it's cool. so let's pause there. So that was it. We just recorded and exported motion capture data. It took, 20 minutes or something or less, as I am talking to you guys. But it's super easy. That's one of the best things about this suit, is that you're going to be getting reliable motion capture data, and it's easy to set up. It's easy to capture. Normally when I'm doing this, I do this on my MacBook Air, which if you've ever tried to edit on a Mac, or do anything on a MacBook Air, you know that they're not powerful machines. It runs Studio fine. It will do capture fine. And it means that I could take the suit out if I had a generator for a router, or if I wanted to use the built-in Wi-Fi coming from the suit, I could do that outside. It's just easy to do, and it's easy to use, and that's something that we want to make very clear, because it's amazing to be able to hop into one of these things and record data in 10 minutes and then, have something custom. And as we're all looking through motion capture data, it's great to have data available, but it's so much easier when you have an idea in your head, and instead of going and kind of piecing together things, from motion capture data you found online, you can record something custom. And it took you less time, and there were less issues with trying to combine all the different animations you wanted from all the different, if I want to have dancing and then I want to have waving my arms, that's like 2 different motion capture assets that I've got to figure out how to combine. This is just easy and simple to do. Okay, again, enough about that. Okay, so now we'll bring it into Cinema 4D. I'll open it up here. And if we go to exports down here, it'll take you right to wherever you've exported your data. The default is in documents on a PC. But as you saw, we could have changed the export folder or whatever. This is fine for now. I am going to add it actually to. I'm going to make my new project folder here. Which is going to be called new folder 19/11/14 live stream. I personally, whenever I'm doing my projects, and again, guys, as we do more and more of these live streams, this will be about all of our products and how to use them and everything, but we also just want to be talking about best practices and, ways that we go about doing things, and just sharing, lots of different things, whether it be CG or Unity tips or tricks or whatever it is. We're going to get into like a lot of different types of, stuff. So anytime that you are starting a new project, you should build out your little folder and have a nice little folder structure. I try to. Whenever I create a new project, the way that I label it is I do year, month, day. That way, my project folders will always be in order. If you do it day, month, year, or some other way, you might have to be searching through. It just makes it so much easier when everything is chronologically ordered. So that's how I always do it. I'm going to create a little folder called, I don't know why my Explorer is kind of being slow or not responding. Always good. It'll pop up in a second, I'm sure. As we bear with me here. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. Okay, we'll leave that for now. just import it directly instead. Okay, so I've got my okay, it worked. I don't know why that was paused, but okay, I've got my little folder. It's gonna paste my motion capture data in there, and then I'm gonna come into Cinema 4D. So if I go to File, Merge Objects, and I navigate to my mocap data. I don't change anything when I bring this in. I just bring it in as is. It's usually fine right out of Rokoko Studio, in terms of scale and everything. So I never have to mess with these. And if I hit OK, it will import the FBX, and it will bring it in as as joints, and then we're going to be binding geometry to those joints, and then we're going to be adding hair to that geometry. That's kind of going to be the workflow that we're running through on this one. Okay, boom. There we go. So let's zoom in here. So this is with the export that we got out of Rokoko Studio. And as you can see, it's some joints. And it's pretty basic. I mean, it's the same sort of thing you would get out of any mocap or any pre-animated asset or whatever it is that you found on Sketchfab or TurboSquid or whatever. They're usually going to come with joints like this, and then also maybe geometry. And in our case, we just get the joints. So this is all of our data. It's looking good. The nice thing about the FBX data that gets exported out of Rokoko is the first frame is always going to be this T-pose. So that makes it easy to bind the geometry, onto some mesh, or bind the joints onto some mesh or onto some geometry. Usually when you get a character, it'll be in a default T-pose. But if it isn't, and the one that we're going to be using isn't, I have a simple trick that I use in order to line up the joints and then, bind them. That will make it easy. And as I said at the beginning, there's a lot of different ways to do everything in CG. This is one way. This is like a quick way that I will bind geometry when I just want to do something fast. So the model we're going to be using for this we will put the link to this in the profile below. This is a free model that we got from Sketchfab, and whether you're using Sketchfab or TurboSquid, there's a lot of cool stuff that people out there have created that you can use in your projects as long as you credit them, or there's just free assets. And again, the great thing about this the way I'm about to do this is that you can do this for pretty much an asset in any, if it's not in the T-pose, it's okay, we'll still be able to do it. So you can take an asset that you find online and bind it to some geometry and have something really cool really quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm basically going to use the character bind command here. So I'm going to line up my joints with my geometry, and then I'm going to bind them, and we'll do it once or twice if something goes wrong, but usually you get pretty good results from the first try. Also, because we're adding hair to this, if there's some slight deformation on the geometry, I'm okay with that. If we needed the model to be super clean, I might use another method of binding our joints to this character. Again, this is fine for what we're doing right now. There are many different methods to do everything, and we will, get into those in future streams. So first thing I'm going to do is kind of just line up this character as best I can. right? That means usually I want to get the shoulders in the right position. I want to get the hips in the right position. I want to make sure that the height is correct. You can change all this stuff. I've had trolls or ogres or stuff with long arms, and you can mess with the joints and get them to fit better. This one will fit pretty well, it looks like. And again, the way I'm doing this is I'm basically just kind of I'm just looking at it in the viewport here, and I can see that the joints are relatively in the right spot. They're coming out. This is the T-pose, and we're going to get these joints to match this geometry a little bit better. So I might bring this forward a little bit more, kind of split the difference there. And again, it doesn't have to be exact for what we're doing today. So I'm going to get it as best as I think. So the thing the method that I use to get the joint in the right position in Cinema 4D is I will basically hit this auto key button, and then I'll move all the joints into position. And if we click on our joints, we can see that each joint is keyframed, right? That is what our motion capture data, that's how it's been translated. It is all keyframes on these joints. So if we can get the very first keyframe for all of our joints in the right position, we can bind on that frame. In this case, it'll be frame 0, where our T-pose is, and then we'll be good to go. And because it's bound, it will all work. So let's start this process. So if I click this little, it's like this little circly thing right here, auto keying, shortcut, Control F9 apparently. Now anything I do is going to be keyframed. So also good to just realize that as soon as I hit this button, I want to only do the joints, and then I want to unhit that button, because otherwise it will be keyframing everything I'm doing, and you'll end up with a bit of a mess. So button clicked. Now I'm going to go in. I'm just going to move these joints into position. And if you've ever worked with IK joint chain before, you know that you kind of want to start from the base in, because this joint, if I rotate this, it's going to rotate the entire arm. So I try to go down the hierarchy, and so I'll just start rotating these into position. So I'm literally just getting this little elbow joint right here to be in the elbow. Then I'm going to click this one, R for rotate, kind of check it out in all the different angles. Looks pretty good. This is always going to be something that the more effort you put into it, the better results you'll get. The amazing thing, though, is that with a very minimum of effort, we can get, a very high quality result, and something that would work, in high profile projects. If you had like a commercial or something, you don't always need it to be perfect if it's backlit, or if there's, you can kind of plan it out in such a way that doing, spending a minimal amount of time getting all this right will still give you a very impressive result. So there we go, the arms are done. I'm going to go in and zoom into the neck there, grab that neck. I'm going to rotate that guy so that it kind of goes along the neck there. And again, if this doesn't look good, we'll just kind of undo and continue the process until we get something we like. For the legs, zoom into the old leg. I'm going to rotate this guy so that the joint is in the knee there. And you can kind of, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on your screen, but I can see it on mine. Move this one back. For feet, it's worth putting in a little bit of extra effort because you don't want it intersecting with the floor. Again, we're covering this mesh in hair. So it's not really going to matter if it's not connecting fully, but you know, it's easy to do, so we might as well just go in and put in the effort to make sure that these foot joints all look right. Oh, click the wrong thing. Boop. And I'm just manually aligning the joints here. We're going to do the left leg, and then we'll be ready to go. Shoop. So this one's a little bit too far back, yep. Just want to make it in the middle. Line up this joint with the ankle. Boop. As you can see, it's kind of right in the middle there. Go in, grab this foot. Shoop. Oop, that looks a little funny, right? And it's got our toe there, so you can line it up with the foot as best you can. So now, if we look in here, see, our toes are not intersecting the ground plane. If I had a floor, the joints are not intersecting the ground plane, so that's good. Everything looks pretty good. Oops. Control Shift Z to undo a view change, which is always useful in Cinema 4D. Can't do that in a lot of other programs. Okay, so we're ready to bind this mesh. So the way we do that, click on root here, and if we right click it, we can, oh, I forgot to uncheck auto keying, which is fine because I didn't do anything yet, but always uncheck auto keying. It is so easy to forget that that is on. And then you've made a bunch of changes to your scene, and like boxes are moving and you don't know why. And so it's always better. It makes your life easier if you can remember to turn that auto keying off. You can also move those joints and hit the keyframe key, or go in and manually keyframe them. But I just like the auto keying because I can move all the joints and then turn it off and I'm done. Okay, so if I want to bind it, I'm going to right click on root. I'm going to select children. So that is selecting this entire joint chain all the way through. Because if we go in here, you can see, it's a real pain in the butt to have to unspool all of this and then, click each one. So if you do right click and select children, you selected all of them. Hold down Control. I'm going to click my object, and then I just go to Character, Commands, Bind. Boom. So now if I hit play, woo! We have moving mesh. And you can tell there's some issues here, right? It looks a little funny. But it looks pretty good. And again, because we're covering this, yeah, you can see the chin is kind of deforming a little bit and stuff in some of these because the character wasn't in a T-pose. It gets some odd deformations. Again, know what you're doing. In this case, we're covering him in hair, so it really just doesn't matter. So this is acceptable. I think this is fine. And now at this point, if we want to kind of hide our joint chain, boop, now we just have our clean mesh. So again, that was incredibly easy. I mean, I recording custom mocap, we live in the future. It's crazy. This would have been completely impossible in the near past. But now, 20 minutes later, we have a custom designed mocap. We can have it do whatever we want. It's amazing. So I want my character to start here. So the way I'm going to clip this animation is I'm going to group my joint chain and my object. If I hit Alt-G, create a group out of those two. I'm going to name this, Sam Twist. Pull this out a little bit. And then I'm going to go to the first frame, animate, add motion clip. This will allow us to play with the animation and kind of trim it and stuff. If you've never played with the motion clip, it's a great system in Cinema 4D. I think it makes things really easy. You can slow stuff down, you can clip it, you can chop it, in half, or you can change where you want your animation to start. It's just a great, I like it once you kind of get the hang of the system. I don't want to remove included animation. I want to keep included animation. So if I hit OK here, it's going to pop this little blue icon right here in a second. Wait for it. Boop. There it is. Okay, so that's our motion clip. And if I open that up, open in timeline, then here's our animation. And if I can change it, I can drag it. I can make it shorter. I can trim it. In this case, we're going to cut off the beginning, and we're just going to start it when the character starts walking. So that is right here. So about 192. If I right-click on this, and I go to Cut Connect, and I hold down Alt and right mouse button, I can zoom in. Boom. Cut in half. Right-click it again, turn off Cut Connect. Select this one, delete it. Boom. I'm saying boom too much, I apologize. But now our animation starts at the right time, and we don't have that beginning portion, which we didn't need. We just wanted to get right into it. Okay. Looking good. So we can actually chop this animation to like right here, right? Because we don't want it after that point. So same thing, right click, cut connect, cut it, right click, turn off cut connect, delete that, and now it'll just end. So, or it'll, well, for our purposes, it'll end. Actually, I'm going to undo that. And instead, I'm just going to make it 810, the timeline, 810 frames. Okay, so there's our animation. Boom, done. Custom mocap data into Cinema 4D, ready to play with it. If I turn on my old Octane here, because I'm an Octane user, you can see what the model looks like. Here, let's press play. The other thing is when I'm, usually I'm doing stuff for Instagram, the resolution that I like using is 1080 by 1350. If you didn't know, Instagram will prioritize portrait mode video over landscape or over 16 by 9 video. So if you can, it's always good to try and, it also looks better on the screen if you can have this big wide, this big tall image, as opposed to like a 16 by 9 image that's taking up a lot less space on your phone. You just have less real estate for your project. So here, we can get this entire body in here, and yeah, it looks nice and kind of creepy. But will serve our purpose as well. Okay, so next step, what do we want to do? Well, we want to add a little hair. So if we go into our, I'm going to turn off Octane for a second. If we go into our little Sam Twist subfolder here, and we highlight our geometry, and we go over to Simulate, we can go to Hair Objects, Add Hair. There's our hair. Right now it's emitting all the hair. If we turn down the length, you can see it looks very weird. Right now it's emitting one hair per each vertex. So if we hit N, F, this is how you change the viewport settings. If you hit N, all these options will come up. NA, Garoud shading is what it is, the default. I like to work in wireframe, which is NF. But in this case, you can see that it's generating a hair at each vertex, which is not what we want. We want the hair to be generated just on the surface of this geometry. So if I change this root setting from polygon vertex to polygon area, then we'll get what we're looking for. But to see it happen, we have to go into editing, regrow. So now it's in the right spot, right? That looks right. And if we hit play, all these hairs are gonna do this little weird thing, and but we're good to go. And we already have like something fun and weird to look at. If we open up Octane again, woo, we got hairs. Looking good. I mean, you know, looking like something. Not looking good yet, but will look good. So for this one, I want it kind of shaggy. I want a lot more hairs, first of all. So I'll go in and I will increase this to 50,000. So again, these are what you're seeing here. These are all the guides. These aren't the hairs themselves. These are just the guides. So the more guides, the guide will basically, each hair guide will affect the actual hair for that part of the body. So the more guides you have, the more accurate your hair simulation will be. You can get away with fewer. It kind of just comes down to processing power, and you know, in this case, I'm just using the default, which is going to work fine. But if we go to Octane, which is right here, we can see we have a ton more hairs. Let's go back down to 5,000. No hairs. 50,000 hairs. That's what we want. We want a ton of hairs. So the other thing that I like to do is I will, while we're doing this, I'll just keep it at 5,000 instead. Actually, it shouldn't really matter as long as we have Octane turned paused, which I will do. Okay, we're going to pause Octane. There we go. Moving nice and quick. So we're going to add a hair collider to the ground because we want our hairs to not be going through the floor. We want them to be colliding with the floor. So if we go to select our floor, tags, you know what? Sometimes floors don't do so well. So I'm going to add just a plane instead. Just a giant plane. Yeah. And then select the plane, go to tags, hair collider. So now our floor, see, as you can see there, look, cool, looking right. But there's a lot of other stuff that we can do to this hair to make it look more interesting. One thing that we can do is that we can turn on, under forces, surface to hair. So that means that the hair will not be passing through the geometry from which it is generated anymore. Now it'll lie, you know, on that geometry properly, which is what we want. We want it to be as realistic-ish as possible. It's obviously not going to be perfectly realistic because hair is, you know, really realistic hair is incredibly computer processor heavy, and we're just going to keep it simple. But there's still other cool things that we can do to make this hair more interesting. If we open up our hair material here, just double click on this down here, and the hair material is automatically generated for you as soon as you add a hair. If we double click it and we open it up, we have all these options here. One thing that I like to turn on is Kink. It just adds, and I don't know if you can see it, but it adds like a little bit of kink to the hair. And if we pull up our Octane again, we can see what it did. Press play. But now instead of having these really silky, you know, perfectly smooth hairs, we have hairs with like a little bit more personality. And you know, the more intricate you make anything, I think in the CG world, the more realistic or the better looking it's gonna turn out. So hair is not, you know, the hair on your body, each hair is a different hair. It has a different property. So I like to add, you know, introduce as much randomness but also variety as I can in the hairs, and just to get it away from looking super CGE. The other thing I'm going to turn on is clump. Clump is awesome, and a lot of animal fur is actually clumped. So I'm going to turn this up to 50, the count, and I'm also going to turn up the clump to 50. And now if we go back, oh yeah, see, that is looking, I think, much more interesting now. And so these hairs, if we zoom in here, yeah, so it's basically, you know, creating these clumps of hairs where it's a little bit more dreadlocky. You know, it's like the hairs, you have hairs that are working, that are still moving dynamically, but they're also clumped with a bunch of other hairs in their area. So if we hit play here, we'll get something way more interesting. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that looks super weird and cool. Yeah, looking awesome. And again, this is from custom mocap data that we just created. So last couple things we can do this hair, and then, you know, basically we'll be done. Pause this again. Put this up here. If we go into our hair material here, and we go into texture, and we add a colorizer to the hair, and then we go in, and so this will, basically, I want to make it like to have a cool, colorful pattern on the hair. And this is one way that I do it. So I double click the hair material, I add in this little option to have a texture, I add a colorizer, which is, you know, going to create this like random thing here. And then if I add a noise into the texture of the colorizer, boop, now we get something much more interesting. And here we'll reload this. Boom, look at that. Cool. That looks awesome. I actually like the red and the yellow. However, right now it's kind of a general noise pattern. So if we go into noise here, and remember, we are, so our hair material, colorizer in the first layer of the texture, click into the colorizer, then add a noise into the colorizer texture, click into that, and then if you play with these noise options, you know, there's a bunch of ones that come standard. So I'm just going to add a new toast and see what that does. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'll click on a couple of the other ones. Poxo. It's a little bit more subtle. Hama. This is like a cellular one, kind of. Luca. Yeah. So, you know, you can play with this all day until you find something you like. I kind of do like the, Stupel. Stupel's always good, too. Not this time. We're going to use new to us, because I like that. Yeah, that looks cool. And once we have this, you know, looking pretty good, I am just going to add just a little background. In this case, it's just going to be another plane. We're going to put it behind our character, rotate it 90 degrees. If you hold down Shift, you can get a precise measurement there. Scale it up. You know, something basic. I have these octane materials kind of put in my palette here so I can quickly use them. I'm just going to make this black. So if let's pull up my octane again. And I had added an octane glossy material. There we go. It's black. Oops. Shut down octane. Here, hold on. Let me do this. This is a little bit better. Oops. and we got a crash. So, the true, reason that that was a big mistake. I definitely should have saved my project, which I didn't. We were moving so fast. So let me open up Cinema 4D again. If anybody has used Cinema 4D or done any CG, you know this process well. I'm also going to close out Rokoko Studio. Open this back up. So I'll remake that, but that kind of gave you a sense of just an easy way to bring in, capture motion capture data, bring it into Cinema 4D, bind it with a character, and then add some hair to it. It was one way to add some hair to it. Oh, you know what? It's actually a bug report, so we might be able to save that. But I'm not going to now. So, that was pretty much what we wanted to go through with you guys on this first one. We will post the results of this on our so you guys can see what the final result was. But yeah, it's super easy. And as we keep doing more and more of these, hopefully we'll be hearing from you guys in terms of what sort of things you guys actually want to be seeing. As we get into different programs and different ways to bring data in and play with it. Maybe we will make some music videos, or we could make really anything. Once you have the suit up and running, again, which is super easy, in Rokoko Studio, you can record to your heart's content and generate as much mocap as you want to, really easily, and then you can bring it into your preferred program and just start playing with it. And the easy workflow is one of the best parts about our whole system, and that's kind of one thing that we definitely wanted to show off to people. We will see you guys next time, but for now, goodbye from me, Sam. And goodbye from Rokoko, and we'll see you guys, in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.